Yo, what's going on? Los Angeles. Welcome to the Rams Skinny here on the LA Football Network, live in the mightier 1090 ESPN Radio. Happy Friday. Happy day 2 of the NFL draft as we are live just a short time away from kicking off round 2. The Rams had a first round pick, Skinny T, for the first time since 2016. They used their first round pick for the first time since 2016. And they did what we all kind of expected him without all the noise to do with their first round pick since 2016. We're going to get all into that. Plus, on the back end of the show, we're going to talk day 2 potential picks, players we like, prospects. Because we, if you've been watching this show, we actually stayed true to what we thought the Rams would do. And so far we've been right. I mean, the player was different. We had Latu, but he went before the Rams. So they went edge. But anyway, no patting on the back here. First and foremost, my main man, Skinny T. How you doing, brother? How's this Friday treating you?
So far so good. I don't know if our listeners know, but I am a early to bed, early to rise kind of guy, and I stayed up late last night with the draft and writing a couple of articles that are up on the website now. I'm a little tired. I'm a little tired. So if I look it, I'm sorry. Hopefully I sounded, I think too. I got a little bit of that morning voice still.
I think you look great. So,
All right.
I don't think you have anything to worry about. But yes, we were hard at work. You were harder at work than even me. I left. We made your place the war room last night. My place will be the war room tonight. So we were there doing our content shuffle throughout, and then I took off around 9:00, and you were pounding that keyboard away till about after midnight. So
Yeah.
great work though. We got all our content up in LAFB. If you guys want live analysis, we got great stuff for the Rams. We got the Chargers too, if you're interested at all. Skinny T put out some articles on, Bill Belichick commenting, which, first of all, let me just say this real quick. I'm not a huge Bill Belichick guy. Obviously, one of the greatest coaches of all time. I'm not taking anything from that, but I'm not like, I don't love his personality or whatnot, but it is pretty cool to see him coming out of his shell a little bit and being on the Pat McAfee show. And now I'm wondering why we weren't watching that instead of the broadcast we were watching.
That's a great point. Yeah. I mean, I heard that it was going to be on, and I heard like some rumbling that Bill Belichick was going to be on the Pat McAfee show, and I thought that's really strange. and like he's just a football guy, which is it's fun. It's fun to watch, and when you transcribe somebody speaking something into or the written word, which is in the article, you realize there are people that are really good at talking and there are people that aren't so good at talking. Bill Belichick's not the best talker. And maybe that's part of the reason that he's quiet.
Yeah. Like his storytelling is like the meat of the story is fantastic. The delivery leaves a little bit to be desired, but hey, he's a football nerd. It's great. We take it. So that's fun. You got an article up because Bill Belichick approved of the Rams pick, which we'll get to in just a minute. First, real quick, got to pay the bills. Show is always brought to you by our friends at BetOnline. Head to betonline.ag today. Use our promo code BELIEVE. That's BLEAV. Gets you a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. There's still plenty of draft props today, Skinny, that I may be throwing down before we kick off. I tried to do some last night, and it was just so busy yesterday leading up to it that I missed out. But the one that I like here, odds of the team to draft Spencer Rattler. Where do you think the Rams sit in those odds?
Like which place there are?
Yeah, you don't have to give me the plus blah blah blah. Just what place do you think they sit?
I bet they're number 4.
Did you look at this before?
No.
They are 4th in odds at plus 500. The Raiders are first at plus 140. The Giants are second at plus 200. The Jets are third at plus 450. And the Rams sit 4th at plus 500. That is our guy potentially with, 54, 52? With the 52nd pick. I think a lot of Rams fans would probably think that's too rich, but we kind of like it. 83 or 99, I think, would be a slam dunk in the 3rd round. But we'll get to that later in the show. So anyway, you can do that all at betonline.ag, promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV. Tell them the guys at the Rams Skinny sent you. So getting in to this first round, leading up to, I guess you call it the kickoff of the draft, the beginning of the draft when the Bears were on the clock, all of a sudden, early yesterday morning, the talk beforehand was, the talk 2 months ago was, okay, Rams are going defense. Aaron Donald retires. They didn't do a lot in free agency at the defensive line. You got to go edge or D tackle. Latu, Murphy, Verse, Chop, all these guys would be great fits. Then all of a sudden it shifts like a week and a half ago to they're going offense. Traeger comes out and says, I guarantee or basically guarantee they're going offense. Every content creator and their mom decides that they're all in on the Rams going offense. Again, we're not patting our back here, but we stayed true. We said, nope, they're going defense. And then the chatter was, are they going to trade out of the first round? You know, that's the mentality. They've never had a first round pick. Why use it this year? Why change the mantra? Well, then yesterday morning, Danny Rossini comes out with a report that the Rams were making calls to trade into the first round. Into the top 10 of the first round, from 19 to into the top 10, and that Sean McVay had fallen in love with this specific prospect. We now know, we assumed who it was. Me and you had a pretty good idea who it was. We now have, I don't know if it's confirmed officially, but it's pretty much out there who it was, which is Brock Bowers, tight end out of Georgia, that me and you thought would be really fun in this offense. We'll get to that in maybe just a second. The Rams do not end up trading into the top 10. We don't know what the offers were, but they don't do it. They hold pat at 19. Latu, who we wanted the Rams to get, goes at, was it 15, 14 or 15?
That's a great question. I'll look that up.
I think it was.
But we're not taking any victory laps, but we'll take a little victory lap picking Latu as the best edge rusher in the class. Confirmed by 15 to the Colts. Yeah, right.
15 to the Colts. First defensive player taken. So we were on to something, first defensive player total taken. Crazy. 14 straight offensive players, record for NFL draft. Wow. Latu goes. Then I'm going to mess the order up, but basically Latu goes, Dallas Turner goes, and Byron Murphy goes. Rams are up. They get Jared Verse. A lot of Rams fans want to chop Robinson. Me and you did like Jared Verse better. We thought maybe Jazon Newton was going to be the pick, D-tackle. They go edge instead, but it's a fantastic pick. You and I both love it, but I'll let you start. Why do you like the Jared Verse pick for the Rams at 19?
He just brings a power and explosiveness. Explosive with his hands, explosive from his hips, and he's versatile. He can go. He's versatile. He can go in and inside and out, and that's kind of exactly what they need. For such a long time, they've been picking these true outside linebacker types. The stand up, true outside linebackers. And this is a guy that can do that, but he also can stick his hand in the dirt and move a little bit towards the interior. And with what you look at with, who you have on the edges, my first thought was, Michael Hoyt. That allows Michael Hoyt to move in a bit, and they can kind of flip flop and move depending on the, if it's a, run or pass kind of passing kind of a down. So, you can easily see how he fits in this new world of Rams defense.
Yeah,
what were your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I loved it. I liked it. We were talking last night, like Chop would have been who is still available, like Chop Robbins, I think would have been a good pick. He has a very high ceiling, probably a little bit more athleticism, but we just liked Verse in terms of size, 6'4", 260. So a big body. Felt he's more ready right now to make an impact. When you look at kind of his collegiate journey, starting at Albany, I believe, small school, transferred then to Florida State ahead of the 2022 season, and really became an extremely impactful defensive player. I think he had 70 tackles, 21 for loss, and 13 sacks during his 2 seasons for the Noles. So, I mean, that's highly productive on a defense that literally led the way for an undefeated Florida State. When you look at that team and, all the controversy about them not making the college football playoff, which was obviously probably the right choice, seeing how they got slobber knocked in their bowl game, but it was led by that defense, and Verse was a huge part of that. And we know this Rams team needs edge help. We know they need pass rush help. We know they need size, and you talked about it a little bit. Like they're kind of changing philosophy and how they've done things. They've always kind of gone long, rangy, bendy edge guys. When you think of Leonard Floyd, that kind of type of model. Well, now you got Byron Young, who does have some range to him, but is just, when you look at his offseason program, I mean, he's gotten big this offseason. And you look at Jared Verse, and he's just a big bull rushing edge guy that's going to just smack you in the mouth. So it's kind of changed the philosophy a little bit. And I think when you look at the likes of Young and Verse together, I really like that duo. I mean, I would have loved Latu, but he wasn't there. He was gone already. They weren't able to trade up. And I think Verse was a fantastic pick and fits well with what they're trying to do and pairing him with Young. And then you mentioned Michael Hoyt showed some decent things. He's not a starter though. He should not be edge one or edge two, whatever you want to call it, starter. But if he can come in and spot and do some things, like he's a fine rotational depth piece. And now he can be that as long as Verse kind of makes the transition from college to pros quickly, similar to what Byron Young did. So I think to me, it was a home run pick based on how the draft board fell.
Yeah, and you mentioned a really interesting thing about his biography, which is, going from a small school up to a Power Five conference school, one of the best defenses in the country last year. He was a no-star recruit coming out of high school. So a guy that just has that kind of work ethic that, bringing his lunch pail, as we like to say.
There it is. We need to just get the LAFB lunch pail and start giving out awards.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah. Exactly. So, he's got that dog in him, and that's
that dog in him. Love it.
You're just throwing out the platitudes left and right here. Yeah. So, there's room to grow. He's not the most refined in terms of his technique. He's got some good moves, not a ton of counters from what I've seen so far, but proved at the collegiate level that he can absolutely do it. And I guess the big question is, what does this mean now? Kind of going forward. I don't know how soon we want to jump into that, but how surprised were you that there wasn't movement from the Rams up or down in the first round?
Yeah, I think I'm surprised just because of all the chatter that took place over the last 10 days. When the draft started and based on how free agency went, I think you and I both agreed, like it felt like they were going to just kind of stay at 19. Obviously they make phone calls. They're always going to be, wheeling and dealing a little bit, but I didn't feel real confident they would move. But then the last week, it was like a foregone conclusion, not from the Rams, but from all the other outsiders or insiders, kind of that they would be making a move, whether it be up or down, or up or back. So I guess in that sense, I was a little surprised. But once you got to pick like 9 and a trade hadn't been made, then it felt like they were staying. I didn't see them moving from like 19 to 13 or something like that, or 19 to 14. And obviously when 6 quarterbacks go in the first 12 picks, you almost don't need to move back because the board is falling really nicely for what the Rams needed. So are you surprised?
Well, just because there was so much smoke, going on in both directions, and I think that they were monitoring it in real time. I don't think they had made up their mind. I don't think Verse was the top player on their board either. I think that they picked the best player available when he was there.
Yeah.
But you saw how the board was going, and so many offensive players were coming off the board early. Like you said, 14 in a row. And that plays well for what we wanted the Rams to do, which was to go for defense to get the edge rusher.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's, and there wasn't a lot of movement. So it seems like all of those teams up in the top 10 were probably holding on to those that pick for dear life. There wasn't much movement, from 11 to 10. That was the wildest trade that happened.
11 to 10. And then the Vikings again from 23 to, was it 17 or that they moved up again?
Oh yeah. They did move up again, didn't they?
They were the only team. And then the Niners.
That was Dallas Turner.
To Dallas Turner. Yes. They moved. And they moved to, was it to 17?
Yeah.
So I wonder if there was some chatter out there that the Rams would have taken. I mean, obviously they probably would have if they had him above Verse on their board since they went edge, I would assume. And so I wonder if the Vikings felt they needed to move up because the Rams were going to take Turner. Because who went? I should have it in front of me, but last time was a blur. Who went 18? Was Murphy 18 or was Murphy 16?
Murphy was 16. Dallas Turner, Mims to the Bengals, and then Jared Verse.
So, yeah. So it feels like, and I'm not sourcing anyone, but it feels like, depending how it fell, the Rams would have basically gone either Latu, Murphy, Turner, and then they end up getting Verse because all 3 of those guys were gone. It feels like that was probably, I'm not saying it was that order exactly, But one of those guys, whoever was there, they were taking, it feels like. And that's why Minnesota moved up to 17.
Yeah, great observation there. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, but yeah, there was the only 2 trades. And then the Niners traded out at the very end from 31 to move back.
No, they took Ricky Pearsall, but
Yeah.
Chiefs traded up for
Chiefs.
Xavier Worthy.
That's right.
And the Bills are out of the first round. So
yeah. Chiefs
the
traded
Bill,
that was a great pick for the Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, come on, you lose Tyreek Hill a couple of years ago, and then they just added another fast dude. So
Yes, yeah, they love their
can't argue with that.
speed guys.
But it's funny, once again, the Bills are kind of modeling themselves after the Rams, after kind of throwing them under the bus for their team building philosophy.
Yeah.
Brandon Beane's paying the piper now with that quote.
Brandon Beane is like an elementary school boy that, when you like a girl, you treat him like crap. That's kind of what you do, right? But you really like him. I think he just really loves Sean McVay and the Rams organization, and that's why he threw him under the bus, because he wants to emulate him.
Plenty to love, Got
All right.
themselves a Super Bowl.
To wrap up this segment, so we both agree Verse was a great pick for how the board fell. I do want to talk quickly about Brock Bowers, because that was the thought, and we talked a little bit during, and we, put an article out and tweeted and all that fun stuff. That when the rumors came out, they were trying to move up in the top 10. Sean McVay fell in love with a guy. It was seemingly Brock Bowers. How would you have felt, and why, if the Rams were able to move up? Bowers ends up going 13 to the Raiders. If the Rams were able to move up and take Brock Bowers, how would you have felt about that?
I think I would feel the opposite of how Chargers fans are feeling today. So Chargers took an offensive tackle when they've cut ties with their top 3 offensive weapons. To catch you Rams fans up, what's happening on the other side of town, and we're friends with all sorts of Chargers fans, and they were not happy about it. They wanted an offensive weapon. But they go with a very smart pick, a very pragmatic pick. Offensive line. It makes a ton of sense for them, but there's no excitement to that. And for me, that's just the opposite of how I would have felt about Brock Bowers. I would have gone, holy cow, this offense is going to be fantastic, and going, this defense is just going to get steamrolled constantly. Yeah. We were talking about it yesterday. Just about, if you think about the 3 receivers, he's not a tight end. He's something else. He's a different. Brock Bowers is not a
unicorn.
End.
Yeah,
he's a unicorn. Yeah. But you think about, you got Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, and they put those guys in motion, and that defense is going, who do I follow now? Who's the guy? Who are we putting our best cornerback on? And there's no good answer with those 3 guys on the field. So that would have been exciting. There was Jordan Rodriguez tweeted a few days ago about initially the reason they drafted Gerald Everett was because he wanted to do a lot more 12 personnel stuff. 2 tight ends, 1 running back on the field, and when he recognized who Cooper Kupp was, that's when he shifted to 11 personnel, because he wanted to keep Cooper Kupp on the field as much as possible. And so that's just been kind of in my brain for the last couple of days, going like, Brock Bowers would be interesting on this offense with all that kind of 12 personnel idea.
Yeah, that's a fantastic note. Because here's the thing for me. Jared Verse was the right pick. It was what the Rams needed most. They didn't have to give up any extra capital. They stand patting it. It was the right pick. But Brock Bowers, I think would have been a phenomenal pick. And there was a lot of people that, you don't need that. That's wasting. You have Higbee. You drafted Davis Allen, yada, yada, yada down the line. And in reality, anytime you can upgrade, you do it. You don't care if we have this guy. Higbee, I know he's fan favorite. He's a fine player, but I mean, he's a 600-yard receiving tight end that's injured often. That's what he is. Davis Allen showed flashes, but he's a 5th-round pick that's going to go into his 2nd year. He's not like a guaranteed bona fide tight end. He's not guaranteed. I mean, maybe he becomes Travis Kelce or one of those guys, maybe, but you don't know that. Hunter Long hasn't played at all from the trade. I mean, he was hurt. Brock Bowers would have been an instant impact on this offense. You mentioned he can play in line and be that 12 personnel tight end if you want to play him with Higbee, or you can line him up in the slot. You can line him up in the outside if you want. I mean, he could be a true Travis Kelce type weapon. And you figure having him, Cooper Kupp, and Puka Nacua with Tutu Atwell, with Demarcus Robinson, with Kyren Williams. I mean, the offense is already loaded, and you add that. And again, I'm very happy with the Verse pick, but it just got me excited thinking of what Bowers would be in this offense because, again, I don't care who you have. If you can upgrade, it's a good move. Anytime you can upgrade a position or a point of emphasis within your scheme, it's a smart, good move. So, little unfortunate it didn't work out because it would have been a lot of fun, but I'm also kind of glad because they didn't have to give up any more. And Verse was a guy I think is going to have an instant impact as well on that defense. On radio, got to take a quick break. We'll be right back at the bottom of the hour. We're talking day 2 and day 2 projections for the Rams right now. So anything you want to add on Bowers or should we move into kind of this day 2 stuff?
No, I think that's a good place to shift. Let's hit up what's happening today.
So, as it stands, Rams have 3 picks, 52, 83, and 99. Let me just start with this before I even get into players. Would it surprise you if they finish today with just those 3 picks? Or can you see them moving back, moving up, whether they have less picks for moving up or gain more picks by moving back? Do you think there'll be more movement today or we'll see like yesterday and they're just staying pat with those 3?
Yeah. It's funny because it was like, all that smoke that we were talking about. Oh, something's going to happen. The big trade back or forward, whatever. And they stayed in place and they picked exactly what they should. They were the plain old boring Rams that we've never seen before. So,
ever.
I like to think in bets just like Snead. He and I are very similar in a lot of things. We think just like each other constantly. So I'm just going to bet that this is the new normal. They're just going to be the new normal is normal. They're going to change their ways and they're just going to be a regular football team going forward. So I'm going to put my money on. I bet you $1 on something last night. I think.
Oh yeah, what did we bet
I don't know
$1
what that
on?
was.
I don't even remember what it was now.
I can't remember. I probably owe you $1. Anyway, I'm just going to bet that they're going to stay with these 3 picks.
Okay, I like that. So I was on Scott Kaplan's show yesterday. He's on ESPN LA out here, and then he also has a radio show on 1090, like us. And he kind of brought up an interesting point that hasn't been talked about a lot. And when you look at, so they have 11 picks as it stands this year. Last year they had 14 picks. They ended up adding 39 rookies last year was the big storyline. And last year was out of necessity. Like they just needed bodies. This year, I'm curious if it gets to the point where they're like, if we use all 11 picks or trade back and get more, are we basically guaranteeing we're not going to 4 of these players aren't going to even make the roster just because we don't have room? I don't know if that's a thing you think about because obviously, like I just said, you're always trying to improve and look and, hey, these guys are going to have the opportunity to beat out the guys from last year. But I wonder if there's maybe a little bit of thought, and they have 4 picks in the 6th round. Maybe they can couple some of those today to move up a little bit if there's a guy they fall in love with. If they want to move up in the 2nd, if they want to go get Spencer Rattler and he's still there in the 3rd, they can, take 2 6 plus their 3rd and maybe move up. So I'm going to say I think they move up today at some point.
I'll probably change mine just because I remembered something that I wanted to note, which was when they flashed to the beautiful, that majestic $16.5 million
Cool,
Rams draft house.
Yeah.
Whatever. I think it's silly.
Hey, Hermosa Pier is a blast, by the way, on Friday and Saturday nights. So shout out Hermosa. Yeah. I'm too old to go there now, but when I was in college, it was a good time.
Oh, right on. They flash to the room and you just see Chris Shula. He's got kind of a smirk on his face. He's feeling good, and you go, oh, they're going defense. And you kind of see Sean McVay off to the side. He's kind of playing with the chair. He kind of looks a little bit, dejected, like they took his toy away. They didn't get Brock Bowers like he wanted. So I think maybe you're right. Maybe 2nd round that he's itching and he's just like he's come on, Snead, I gotta take a guy. I need a guy. Get me a guy. Let's get a guy.
Give me a dude.
Yeah.
I need a dude. I need some juice. We always talk about juice, and he thought he got his juice 3 years ago with Tutu, and the juice didn't have much squeeze, apparently, at least not yet. Yeah. So yeah, I think we might see them move up. But let's get into it. Let's start with the second round. You put out a bunch of articles over the last kind of 2-3 weeks, so people can check those out on our draft guide. I'll leave a link in the description. But basically, every position gives players in every round the Rams could target. So I'll just kick to you first. I hate that my screen does this. If you're watching, you see this thumbs up. I don't know how to turn this thing off. The little thumbs up emoji that just like pops up. But at least with a thumbs up, not a thumbs down. So, but I'll kick it to you. And second round specifically, maybe give a few players at positions you like for them to target in the second round.
Well, if McVay is kind of pounding the table and he wants an offensive weapon or just an offensive player, you're automatically, you got to think of wide receiver. I think probably the second round, still a bit rich to go running back. And, Keon Coleman is a guy that I've kind of had my eye on. As he's not the most athletic guy out there. He's not a burner at all, but he's got such good production and he's got such good ball skills and route running that I could see him being a compliment in this offense. Now I say that, and I thought that's exactly what Allen Robinson was going to bring to this offense a couple of years ago, and that did not work out. So that might be a big flop. But I mean, what do you think? Do you think it's too early to take a running back at 52?
For me, it would be. It wouldn't shock me. I just think the value of the position, and it's not like a strong running back class, but picking a guy now versus the third or fourth round, I don't think you're having crazy different value in that. It's not like last year where, hey, Bijan Robinson and then everyone else. It's kind of like everyone else is all kind of on an equal playing field, in my opinion. So to me, it'd be too young or too early to go running back. The receivers I like, you mentioned, or the receiver you mentioned I like, and that's probably right around that sweet spot if they stay pat at 52. Roman Wilson's probably in there at 52. If they want one of these, top guys at the second, like a Lad McConkey or Madani Mitchell, those are guys they'd probably have to trade up for. So if they're going to, like I was saying earlier, if they can package some of those later picks and able to move up, 15 spots, that's probably what they'd have to do to get one of those. There's also the thought, and this is what me and you think they should do, Braden Fisk is probably going to be sitting there as the interior. Chris Jenkins out of Michigan, probably going to be sitting there. Jerzon Newton might be a guy they need to trade up for, but you never know. I mean, he could slide and he could still be there. His projection's kind of all over the place. So what's your thought and opinion on if they do what we mocked them to do? Not mocked them, made fun of them, but like in our mock drafts, and we had them going interior in the second round on the defensive side. Do you think that actually holds true today?
I mean, that's exactly what I want them to do. And I want them to go after just a really big dude in the middle.
Just a bowling ball.
And so I think, Jerzon Newton, he isn't exactly that. He's definitely much more of an athlete. But Braden Fisk right there, keeping the band together, keeping that Florida State, defensive line together. You kind of got to like that. I've always been a bit of a Trevonde Sweat guy, but I think it's just because he's huge, 366. Well,
I'm glad you brought him up because obviously he is. I mean, I don't know if he was ever for sure a first round pick, but he's obviously falling because of the off the field stuff. What was it, a DUI he got recently? Yeah. The Rams organization, I think, has always kind of, the Chiefs for sure do this, but like, hey, everyone has that thought, like, we can fix character. We can, character's not an issue in this building. Like we have a culture here that fixes it. I think the Rams is one of those plays. So if they feel that Sweat, it was a one-off thing, it's not a huge issue, like, it was a mistake, young kid, come in here, get him with some of the vet guys. I mean, that would be a home run. I mean, because that guy's basically sliding because of that instance. but his field talent and production, I mean, and his size, as you alluded to, you had Sweat next to Verse and Young and Kobie Turner. Not saying there's still going to be worse, because anytime you lose Aaron Donald, no matter what, you're going to be worse, but they're going to be a hell of a lot better than they were 2 days ago. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And, I've always considered that, it seems like the Rams have always kind of shied away from any guys that have off the field stuff in any kind of like even small ways. Like, I think the only guy that I can think of, you might remember somebody else, but Derion Kendrick came in, with a couple of nicks on the off the field thing, but nothing. I don't think he was ever arrested or for anything. He just got in a little bit of trouble here and there. Got kicked off a team, I think. But kept his nose clean since then. So, but it's always seemed like they're not going to go for those kind of guys. So I could see that maybe being a disqualifying factor.
Yeah.
But in terms of that size, you're not finding it in the second round. I mean, Braden Fisk and Chris Jenkins both under 300 pounds. John Newton just over 300 pounds, which it's not a disqualifying factor again to say that obviously they drafted an undersized guy who became the greatest of all time Hall of Famer, first ballot Hall of Famer in Aaron Donald. So it can work. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, he was undersized, and that's why he went 14th and not first.
Yeah,
worked out for the Rams. Exactly. Glad it did.
Yeah, 100%.
So, but yeah, keep going. Sorry, you were.
Well, just to kind of pivot back to receiver and offense, Javon Baker was another name I wanted to throw out there. I wanted to make sure I wanted to talk about him as a guy that has fantastic speed, under 4.4, 40-yard dash, but unlike Tutu Atwell, 6'3", 210 pounds. So, I mean, that's a guy that, someone weeks ago said, he's this draft's Puka Nacua. I think he's going to end up in the second round. And I would love I would love to see that kind of speed added once again to the Rams, just to see what it looks like. We got kind of a glimpse with Deshaun Jackson for a couple of games, and it wasn't used that much, but he's a real field stretcher. And you got like a couple of guys like Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. I see it in my head. They're just, running that mesh concept, and you got the guy going, just on a post route, and you can just see that happening.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Javon Baker, some people might think it's a reach in the second, but if he fits what they want to do, and you, as you alluded to, he's getting a lot of praise, and a guy that probably will go earlier than he's been projected, especially if receivers start coming off the board like we think they probably will in the second. Another guy that if we're sticking it here in the second round, and then we'll move to the third round maybe, but sticking receiver, you wrote about him a little bit. Talk about Jalen McMillan out of Washington. Obviously, Rome Odunze is the guy, 9th overall. I mean, that Chicago offense, man, is going to be super fun, but that's a whole other conversation. But Jalen McMillan, I think, adds maybe some versatility to this offense. What do you think about him in the second?
Yeah, I'm happy with either one of the Washington guys, Jalen Polk and Jalen McMillan, at that 52 spot. They both bring, different kind of skill sets. I think McMillan's burst and change of direction kind of fit, what we've seen more of from the Rams. So, yeah, I mean, how do you feel about offense? I guess, convince me that they're going offense here.
I know, right? It feels like it's going to be defensive interior. They'll take a corner eventually. They'll probably add another safety. They'll definitely need to add a linebacker to play alongside Ernest Jones. But it feels like if they go defense, it's going to be defensive interior on the line, or it's going to be an offensive skill player, or a tackle maybe too. If one of they like a tackle a lot. Let's quickly, before we move to the third round, Sean McVay misses out on Brock Bowers. If Jatavian Sanders is there out of Texas, Eric All, Cade Stover might be a little too rich in the second. You can probably get them in the third. Just what's your thoughts on Jatavian Sanders potentially as a tight end, if you have any at all, or just a tight end in general? Or do you think it was more Bowers was a unicorn and not necessarily the need for a tight end?
Yeah, I think Bowers was kind of a skeleton key that was going to unlock something. I think that's why he fell in love. I think that's why McVay fell in love with him. I don't think there's another tight end needle mover. They'll probably I can see them going for another tight end. I mean, I like Theo Johnson, third rounder, maybe
Yeah,
fourth round. Yeah, there is no fourth round pick, but
there might be.
yeah, who knows? There could be a trade back. I love my guy Tip Ryman.
Tip. I love Dallin Holker out of Colorado State.
Tell me more about him.
If anyone, Colorado State for whatever reason has turned into like tight end U for kind of a smaller school, not a Power 5. I'm drawing a blank, but whatever, the smaller 6 conferences, which now is all out of whack with all the different conference alignment. But yeah, they've put out some good tight ends lately, and Holker I think is good size, good versatility, great hands. If anyone, which a lot of people did, watch the Colorado State-Colorado game, the Rocky Mountain Showdown this year, which was a great game. Obviously it was the peak of the prime excitement, I guess, or the prime bandwagon for Colorado Boulder, and that went to overtime in that game. And Holker was a huge reason why for Colorado State's offense. I mean, he was uncoverable, and CU had a pretty poor defense, which we learned all throughout the season. But Holker was a reason why that game went to overtime when it probably shouldn't have. So he's a guy that I think could be a really fun addition. I think the second's probably too early. You can get him third, or I don't know if you can wait till the 5th, but potentially the third. But let's just do this. I want to move to the third and give some of those prospects. Your projection. They go in DN. What are they taking here? Position-wise. You don't have to give me a specific player, but position-wise, what are you projecting? And let's move forward.
I'm projecting wide receiver. You talked me into offense. It's for this reason. It popped into my head. This is the reason they're going to go. Demarcus Robinson is on 1-year contract.
Yep.
They need a long-term option. And this is the best place to find it. He's going to be cheap, obviously, because he's a rookie and a second rounder. So, yeah, I mean, is Javon Baker too much of a reach there? I mean, I'm just so excited about it. There's so many good pass catchers, and I think if you look at the other positions, I don't see a left tackle available that's a needle mover that can, that's going to be a significant upgrade from Alaric Jackson. You run down this list. I mean, if they're not going to go defense, I mean, I feel like wide receivers is it, man.
Here's the last question for you, because 6 quarterbacks go in the first round. I'm 99% sure Spencer Rattler's going in the second round. He's not making it to the third now because he'll be the next QB taken, and someone's going to take him in the second. Should that be the Rams, or is the second round too rich to go QB?
I mean, it's funny because somebody tweeted out
plus 500, 4th overall odds.
Yeah, put some money on that.
I'm going to, by the way.
The worst decision you can make is trading up in the first round. Now, nobody's saying that about the Chiefs trading up to go get Patrick Mahomes. Oh, they lost that third rounder. No, it was the smartest thing they could do is go up and trade up and get the guy. And I am so convinced that the team should be taking quarterbacks every year. That if they like the guy, go get him. I don't know if the Rams like Spencer Rattler. I like his arm talent. I think he's got a gun on him. So if you think that he can be a Jalen Hurts in the second round, definitely take a chance on it. It's worth it.
Yeah. When here's my thought, and we're getting up on time here, so we'll talk quickly in the third. But to me, and fans are going to hate this, I think they need to go Rattler here in the second. Reports just came out, that Stafford wants to kind of restructure more guaranteed money. To me, that signals he wants 1 or 2 fully guaranteed, so then when he retires, he's set, and it's coming sooner than later. I'm not saying it's happening after this year, but regardless, it's 3 years max, I think, right? I thought using a first-round pick on a quarterback was a waste, but using your second, I would do it. It gives Rattler two probably minimum, maybe 3 years to really – he's only 23, 22 years old. Gives him plenty of time to groom under Stafford and then potentially take the reins. And, again, you mentioned it. Jalen Hurts was a second-round pick. Look at how he's done with Philly. There's a lot of potential there that when Stafford does hang it up, you're not in QB purgatory. You'd never want to wait. And that, I don't agree with what Atlanta did. That's a whole different story what they did. I mean, they just signed Kirk Cousins to a 4-year deal, and then they used their 8th overall pick. That makes no sense. But using a second to have that line of succession ready, there's the saying, you want to draft a quarterback when you don't need one. And if they wait until Stafford decides to retire, you could end up in, everyone says like, oh, I'd trade one bad year for a Super Bowl. Look at teams like the Broncos, the Colts. I could go down the list. Like, that's a lot of bad years if you don't find your quarterback and have a succession plan, and you're just basically throwing darts, hoping for the best. So to me, second round, I'm hoping it's Rattler. I'm just putting it out there. I'm putting money on it too. Plus 500, baby.
I love it. You're much more bold than I am. So, yeah. What's that?
There's my bold prediction. So let's say this. So regardless, moving to the third round now. Second round is either receiver or quarterback, we feel. Third round, it's got to be defensive interior, you think? Corner, or is basically everything on the board at that point?
I mean, there's so many good corners left that unless they get entirely scooped up in the second, which is a possibility. I mean, Cooper DeJean was thought of as a first rounder. Kool-Aid McKinstry was right there, kind of in the first round. Ines Rakestraw, I saw kind of in the first round talk as well. So, I mean, Chris Abrams' drain comes off the board in the third round. I've always liked his skill set, big rangy kind of a guy. Long arms, gotta love that. But after the second round, I'm talking myself into picking up a cornerback in the second round.
Yeah.
Because after those guys come off, that's another area where they got to find long-term answers. Tre'Davious White is not a long-term answer right now. We're going to find out exactly what he is. Is he the pre or post injury guy? So yeah, I think now I'm thinking second round for corner.
Yeah, no, I think third round is a good spot for corner. I think this could be a really good sweat spot potentially. Again, if he continues to fall, and you can get him in the third. I mean, T'Vondre Sweat in the third, that's just a home run pick there based on value. If you feel okay about the off the field stuff, because after him, it's a pretty significant drop off in terms of talent, and you may be waiting till the fifth round then to get your defensive interior. This is also an interesting spot for potential running back. Marshawn Lloyd. I mean, some guys like that. You adding Marshawn Lloyd to this offense as well with the likes of Kyren Williams. I mean, that could be a really fun proposition as well. I'm not saying I think they should do that, but it's something to think about. But it feels like corner or defensive interior, depending how the board falls, it's kind of what makes the most sense in the third.
Yeah, I like Isaac Guerrero in the third for a running back out of Louisville. 6 feet, 221 pounds, the third fastest 40-yard dash at the combine. Definitely lightning to the thunder of Kyren Williams, if you can call Kyren Williams the thunder. But I think the more I think about it, the amount of money that they've invested in the offensive line, they got to get another running back in there.
Yeah, got to get another running back. So, I mean, one of those guys I think would be great. The last one I'll kind of throw out is, there's definitely, I think they'll go tackle at some point. There was a lot of talk leading up to yesterday that, hey, maybe they're trading up for a tackle for, the Oregon State kid Fuaga, for Olafano, for all these guys that were top end prospects at tackle. And maybe in this third round, they get there. The Rams love to draft offensive line in the third round. It feels like that seems to be a sweet spot for swinging on the offensive line. When you look at Bobby Evans, Joe Noteboom, I'm drawing a blank. Their first pick 2 years ago. That's on. Thank you, Logan Bruss. So this might be a spot. And what's funny when you did it, and I'm not doing this to call you out, it just shows the difference of value all across the NFL. Is you kind of had a potential third round prospect in the offensive line being Jordan Morgan out of Arizona, which I think would have been a home run pick in the third round. He ends up going in this first round. It's a first round. Me and you saw the pick, and we're like, I mean, I watched him play when they played USC. I was at the Collie, and good player, but I didn't see anything that showed me first round talent. So that just shows like when fans are like freaking out about stuff, like there's just very differing ideas and opinions from scouts, GMs, teams versus kind of what we see. But that would have been great in the third round. But I think tackle is definitely a spot that they could tackle in the third round, pun intended.
Yeah, you look at their depth chart, and beyond the starters, you got Joesph Noteboom, and then nobody else has really tested. Nobody else has really played a snap. So you got to get some guys in there. We saw what happened in 2022. You lose one guy, you lose two guys, and the whole season falls apart. And obviously, I think these guys are. Well, who knows? I mean, injury luck is just that. It really comes down to luck. So they're going to have to add some. And there's some interesting guys out there. We saw so many of them come off the board already, but such a good class. I mean, this BYU guy, I don't think he's going to make it to the third round, but this kid from Yale, I'm saying their schools because I will not. I'll just murder their names, but. Kyren is the first name, 6'5", 323 pounds. I love my Ivy League guys. So
you sure do. Ivy League and Golden Domers are your forte. So, yeah. All right. So if we think QB or receiver in the second, what's your prediction for the third after all this analysis?
I'm going to go back with defensive line. I think this is where they pick up. Somebody true nose tackle so that they can move Kobie into that 3-tech spot.
And I was unfair. I tricked you. They do have 2 picks in the third, 83 and 99. So you can predict both. So they go defensive line with the 83. And then what do they do at 99?
Offensive tackle.
Love it. Yeah. I think I'm going to go the same. Running back, I think is really intriguing. Really intriguing, and the fact they don't have a fourth, it's like, okay, do they want to wait till the fifth? Again, I think we will see them trade up at some point, whether it's today or tomorrow, to get into maybe that fourth. Maybe they get like if Lloyd happens to fall or an Audric Estime or someone, they can move up. But to me, it feels like they go O tackle at 83 and then defensive interior or vice versa. So I'll go with same positions today if they hold pat.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Should be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be a long fourth round, man.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, which at least is until tomorrow, so we don't got to worry about that until tomorrow.
Well, it's an early start tomorrow as well. 9:00.
So if they don't trade up, you get to sleep in a little bit.
Yeah,
look at that. Well, there you have it. Let us know what you guys think. It's gonna be a fun draft day. Like I said, Ryan will be joining me. We'll do a video afterwards, how we're feeling, but definitely plenty of written content. And we have our guys, the Decide guys, will be live the entire evening tonight. So you can find it right here on this channel, on the Rams channel, or any of our channels, or live on Twitter at LAFB Network, or on our website, LAFBnetwork.com. So they'll be live, and maybe we'll jump on with them at some point as well to have some fun. So, but thank you all for hanging out with us. Great day one for the Rams. Jared Verse, home run pick at the edge. And let's see what they do with their 3 picks on day 2. Do they sprinkle some fairy dust and turn those into more? Do they move up and go get a guy they want? Will a QB be taken in Los Angeles from the Hermosa Beach House? We shall see. For Skinny T, I'm Ryan Dyer. This is the Rams Skinny. Everyone stay blessed. Enjoy the draft. We'll talk to you all very soon.